And welcome back, everybody, to the Podcaster Nation. That's right. I said welcome back because I know you were just listening to our stuff and you loved it so much that you came back for more. Folks, that was a brilliant move because we have a lot more for you. Now, why do we have a lot more for you? Because this is the show that's about podcasters, it's for podcasters, and it's done by podcasters. Folks, we have a podcaster with us today. I know it's going to shock you, but you know what? Hang on. It's getting better. Here we go. This is the place where we all come together to raise each other up, and this is the place where the rising tide raises all ships. Folks, please welcome to our show the co-founder and CEO of Appian Media and the YouTube channel of the same name. He's a videographer, and his mission is removing barriers between people and the gospel. So please welcome to the show, Craig Dehut. Craig, how you doing today, brother?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. How are you?
Real well, but better than I deserve. I'll tell you that right now. Just kind of getting used to it. So, you just came back from a pretty big trip, didn't you?
It's true. Yes. We spent about 18 days traveling through Israel and Turkey and Greece, creating our most recent docu-series about the Book of Acts. So,
Nice.
two-thirds of the way we did up through the second missionary journey of Paul. And so, if I look a little bleary-eyed or sound a little tired, I'm still getting over the jet lag. We just got back Thursday evening. So,
I love it.
yeah,
I
feeling
love it.
good.
We
Thankful
just
for
got
the opportunity.
just got this guy back from the far reaches of the universe here, and he's back here with us today. So, Craig, I appreciate you coming on today, and I've had the great pleasure of having you on one of my other shows, Wake Up the Lions, and so I've gotten to know you and your mission. Tell folks here, who is Craig DeHut? What's Appian Media? What is it you're trying to accomplish out there in this world of podcasting, YouTubing?
Mm. Well, who is Craig DeHut is probably the least important part of that particular question. I'm just someone who's trying to please the Lord with the talents that I've been given, and learning along the way. So I've had an interest in filmmaking and storytelling and art since a very young age, and finally found in the last 10 years or so, after graduating from film school and working in news and trying lots of different things, documentary filmmaking is kind of the thing that I've discovered allows me to incorporate all of my talents into something, that I can use to glorify God. So, founded Appian Media back about 10 years ago now. And we travel over to the lands of the Bible and we create documentaries and podcasts and workbooks and give the majority of that media away for free that people can watch online and consume online, trying to get people excited about the written word. And so my job as the co-founder, the CEO, but I also do quite a bit of the video production and the editing, and the podcasting over the years. So yeah, it's been an exciting journey, and God's still working on me.
That's really amazing. What makes you say, "Hey, there's a gap, between people and the word, and it's my job to step up and try and fill that gap, or bring people together like that."
Well, we certainly weren't the first people to notice the gap. Myself and our co-founder Stuart Peck, we were just seeing, especially young people, disengaged with the Bible. They were coming into Bible class kind of bored. They'd been used to consuming things and learning things through digital means, and then most Bible classes just weren't making use of good or high quality media, and we were seeing the next generation kind of getting lost. And so we weren't necessarily the ones to say we've got the answer to that. We kind of looked around and went, surely someone is doing this. Surely someone has already accomplished this. We just haven't found it yet. And we just couldn't find anyone that was producing something that was high quality. Because quality is important. We want to do things that's representative, quality wise, of the thing that we're discussing. And we wanted things that were biblically accurate and historically accurate, nothing with a slant or bent or coming at it from any particular denominational slant. And then we wanted it free because we're cheap and most teachers don't have endless resources to spend to engage their students. And so we created Appian Media to solve that need. I'm thankful over the last 10 years to see other people attempting very similar things. And we don't view them as competition. We're thrilled to I think what you said at the beginning of the podcast, rising tides raise all ships, right? We're all in this together. We're all trying to accomplish similar things. And so I'm thrilled to see that more and more people are finding ways to engage not just the youth, but everyone in getting them excited about the word.
I love that. I really do. I mean, just from a standpoint of making it accessible to everybody, that's fantastic. You mentioned teachers. So
Yeah.
how does what you're
Yes.
producing, benefit teachers in that way?
Yeah, so that's where we first saw the need specifically in Bible class teachers, but it was not long at all before we realized, listen, school teachers, homeschool families, just parents with their kids, but also just people who are interested in learning more about the Bible, which is a lot of people. Um, they are looking for resources to help them understand what they're reading, or help them, in this case, just better visualize what they're reading, the historical and the cultural context, the geographical context of the Bible. I'm a 21st century American Christian. I had never traveled overseas before I had started Appian Media. And so I didn't fully understand the distances between, the cities mentioned in the Bible. I didn't understand what Jericho looked like or how big, honestly, how small the Sea of Galilee was. And so just trying to give anyone who's interested in learning more, but also in teaching others about the Bible, resources that they can use and they can trust.
I love that. And you said that you just came back from Israel, and
It's
the
true.
surrounding areas. And so, when you go to film something, you're going all the way to the source, and the source
That's
material
right.
then is the actual word, the Bible.
That's right. Yeah, so our most recent series we're working on is through the book of Acts. And, the first third of that book takes place primarily in Jerusalem before the word starts spreading out due to the persecution. And so, yeah, this was my fourth trip to Israel. We were there for about a week. Um, didn't mean to, but arrived during the Jewish New Year. So a lot of people in the city and a lot of stuff going on. And we had to kind of work our way around that. Um, but they were also entering their Feast of Booths. We ended up one day in the city of Jerusalem. Tons of families were celebrating their bar mitzvahs for their sons, and that was really fun to experience. But yeah, just had a wonderful time there. We were able to capture quite a bit of content, and then we bounced over to Turkey for a few days, and then to Greece for 6 or 7 days. Followed through up to the second missionary journey of Paul. Lord willing, we'll travel back in the next year or so and record the rest of that. So
That's wonderful. Now you're talking about wanting to keep costs down and make this primarily, as free as possible and things like that, but you're still a business. So you still have
that's
to,
correct.
function, right? And support yourselves and your families and things like that.
That's right.
How have you managed to monetize this thing to the point of being able to do that while still keeping the costs down? I'm curious.
Yeah, it raises a lot of eyebrows, especially for people who work in our in industry. They're going like, I don't understand this. Your distribution model is you give it away, and there's got to be something.
Right.
There's got to be a catch. As far as those who get to consume the content, there is no catch. It is free. You can watch it on our YouTube channel. We are a 501(c)(3). We're a non-for-profit. And so the funds that we use are generated primarily through individuals donating. So we will typically announce what we plan to do next. Hey, we've got our eyes set on this particular project. It's going to cost this amount of money. International documentary production is not a cheap endeavor, but we work to keep those costs down as much as we can. But you're talking about flights and accommodations and film permits and paying the team and equipment rentals and all those things. But people have been incredibly generous over the years. And so that's where the primary source of our revenue comes from. We do also sell our workbooks. We have these high quality printed workbooks that accompany all of our videos with QR codes inside of the lessons, so you can scan a QR code and watch a piece of video and then get into that lesson. And we sell those, and that generates revenue for us. Obviously, we're on YouTube, and the AdSense and all that generates revenue for us. But year over year, people keep coming back and asking for more, and God and generous people make it possible. So we're going to keep going as long as people keep asking us to create it.
That's amazing. That's just amazing. So it's very largely funded by gifting. Yeah.
That's right.
Wow.
Exactly right.
Wow, that's just amazing. You're right. That's not a business plan that most people would look at and go, "Oh, sign me up."
Nope.
But
Nope. And there have been the occasional, especially in the first couple of years, people were like, "You guys are just doing this to take free trips to Israel and, getting rich off of this." And it's like, let me just, I'd be happy to share with you our balance sheets and show you that
right,
that is absolutely not the case. We do it because we believe in it. We do it because we want this resource available. I want it for me. I use it with my kids. But I see the need, and I hear from many, many people around the world who are using this content and benefiting from it, and that should motivate all of us to contribute, whether that's financially or we have incredibly talented people who contribute their time and talents, oftentimes to make sure that this can happen.
well, and anybody who's ever seen the back end of a 501c3 is not going to think that you're doing
Nope.
all of that nightmare.
No,
Yeah, right.
nope.
That's simply not
But
happening.
we're
Yeah,
glad to do it.
yeah. That's not worth the free trip by any stretch. So I totally understand. Now you chose to put this out on YouTube as well. What has that journey been like in terms of, putting it on the channel, helping the channel grow, what's worked for you, that type of thing?
Yeah. And that's an interesting question because the first couple of years, we released our first 5 episodes of a series about the life of Jesus. And those came out, let me think, the beginning of 2017. And at first, for the first couple of years, we said, we're not going to put it on YouTube. We want people to come to our website. So we
Mm.
were kind of like, it's going to be free, but we wanted people to know about us and learn about us. So we were funneling them to us. Truthfully, that wasn't the greatest of decisions. The strategy that we adopted after a couple of years was more of we want to make sure that our content is where people are already gathering. And so YouTube is where people are gathering to, find information and to be entertained, to learn more about things. They Google things, right? And Google, if there's a video of it, they're going to lead them to YouTube. It's one and the same. And so that really was a decision we should have made earlier. But once we did, so come end of 2018, beginning of 2019, we put our stuff on YouTube, and it was slow. We did not go viral all of a sudden. Our content was being watched, but slowly and steadily. And then COVID happened.
Mm.
And so in 2020, we had already produced 3 of our series, and suddenly churches and families and people all over the world were looking for content to fill their worship services, to their studies, because they were stuck at home, and they found us. And so, in the midst of a difficult situation, we were able to provide something that many people were looking for. And we've never had anything that I would categorize as explosive growth with our YouTube channel, but it's slow and steady wins the race. We're knocking on the door of that 100,000 subscriber mark, and I get excited about that because then YouTube sends you a plaque. And I'm just kidding. Awards and stuff aren't that. But I kind of joke about let's get that plaque. Let's see what we
Right.
can do. For us, YouTube is it's an easy platform to put the content on. People know how to use it. We don't have to explain the interface, and it gets it to people worldwide. And it does generate some revenue for us, which we then in turn use to create more content.
Excellent. I love that. I am curious, if I can back up for a second. Did you start out as the not-for-profit 501c3, or did that happen later on after you got going?
No, that was really the intention from the very beginning. We launched as a Kickstarter campaign. We
Ah,
used that crowdfunding platform. I had had some experience with that, with some previous clients and people that I had worked with. And I had been part of campaigns that were very successful and campaigns that were not successful, and learned a lot with both. And so that's how we raised the first funds to create those first 5 episodes, take a trip over to Israel. But from the very beginning, it was our desire, and it takes time, to apply as a 501c3 and get converted. Um, but people were able to donate as tax deductible donations from that very beginning, and that's been something that's really kind of been at the heart of what we do from the beginning. Is we want the people to tell us each time, yes, do this thing. And so we put it out there and say, do you want this? This is the vision that we have. This is what we plan to do next. and people speak with their dollars. And so far, they keep telling us to make more, so we'll make more.
Right on. Absolutely. The so in terms of, the fundraising, because part of any, not-for-profit is a fundraising component, like you've talked about. Is this an ongoing fundraising effort type of thing, or do you have events that go on? How do you do multiple campaigns of like Kickstarter type stuff? How does that work throughout your year, and in order to keep you
Yeah.
guys flush and being able to go to Israel and pay a crew to do it? Because that's not
Yeah.
easy.
No, it's not easy. I don't know that I've ever used the word flush to describe the budget for Appian Media. It is ongoing. Absolutely. It is ongoing. And typically it involves at least one concentrated effort each year, usually 3 to 4 weeks long, saying this is the next production, this is the next trip. These are the milestones we need to reach in order to what we call green light. And so usually that's 6 to 8 months in advance of when that trip needs to happen. And it lasts about a month long. We do have, and we're shifting more since COVID, honestly, more towards encouraging people to become monthly donors. And so just coming on board, we call them our Appian Waymakers, and donating each month. And they get behind the scenes photos, and they get opportunities to Zoom with our team and get some insights. I mean, especially while we were overseas just a week or so ago, we were sending them messages, and they get some more benefits to that. And that has honestly allowed us to plan more for the future, having these individuals from month to month. Um, we haven't really leaned hard into the events, and I would love to kind of pick some people's brains on how to approach that. We create digital media. We
Right.
aren't creating a ton of physical product. We do have our workbooks. We did do DVDs. I've been trying to phase this out of DVDs for the last 3 or 4 years, but mostly it's a digital product. And so, how to do an in-person event are things that we're interested in pursuing. But then we also make our content available, license it to other streamers. And so whether that's Amazon or PureFlix or Right Now Media, people do then pay us to license that content, and that generates revenue for us as well.
Excellent. All right. I mean, you really had your creative hat on when you put this whole thing together. This, it,
Well, I wish I could say that we had the plan from the beginning and we knew exactly how we were going to run it. And that obviously, no, we have learned by doing, and we have experimented, and some of those have worked well and some of them haven't. For example, that first year was a Kickstarter campaign because that's what I knew. But we very quickly went, look, Kickstarter takes 10% off the top of every donation in order to fund that platform. So we transitioned away from that, and have tried different things. And so now people can just donate directly from our website. There's a mechanism there, a secure mechanism where people can do that. But we've shifted and we've learned and adapted, and always kind of interested to hear different ways that people can contribute, and we can make that accessible and easy for people.
yeah, no, that's great. And I love that as just sort of as a guideline and, as setting an example for folks who are listening to this, in the podcasting world, because that's how you figure it out. You launch,
Yep.
you keep solving the problems as they come up. If this doesn't work, you tinker with it, you try a different way. So, I mean, it's incredibly brave to go that direction, but it's
Yeah, it
it's the
involves
way
a
to
great deal
go.
of faith. Every
Right.
every project, every year, I know, I've spoken with other creatives who look at our content, and I'm glad that it encourages them or even inspires them, but they have the mistaken idea that we have this thing figured out, and we have reached the zenith, and we are just coasting through our projects, and that's simply not the case. We're still learning, and we continue to work to be humble about it. And I'm always very interested to talk to other creatives and go, how are you doing this? What are some ideas that maybe we can adapt from you, and sharing those. Again, I don't view that we have any competitors. We're all trying to accomplish something similar, and we can all learn from each other.
No, 100%. And that's a great outlook on it as well. So I appreciate the way you come at it. With podcasting and YouTube, it's It's always a little bit of a conundrum because the channel, the podcast, those are things that do promotion for your business. But in order for all of it to kind of make sense, you also need to promote the thing that's promoting the business. So how do you go about promoting the channel
Right.
to get more people coming to look at it?
Yeah, it is an interesting approach. I was actually talking with someone who, a very successful YouTuber. He's in excess of 10 million subscribers, and
Not bad. Yeah.
he is very much the brand. He's an individual. He talks straight to camera. He talks to his audience, and so every video there's the hey, like and subscribe, approach, and that's effective because he is at his heart a YouTuber. That's what the business was from the very beginning. That isn't what our primary business is. Our content is primarily designed to be used in a classroom or in a teaching opportunity. So we don't want it to feel salesy or gimmicky. So we don't create it. It's hard to explain sometimes, but we don't create it first for YouTube and then for the classroom. It's the other way around. And so our content, we aren't looking straight at camera, addressing the audience as our YouTube audience and asking them to like and subscribe. And so we find other ways of encouraging people, either tagging stuff onto the end of the video where maybe we do make a direct pitch. But more often than not, it's just we believe that the content itself is our greatest advertisement. That they watch the content, they learn the name, and they follow the links and they go to where they can learn more and learn how to support it. And we think that that has worked fairly well over the years.
Excellent. Every podcaster who's out there is, trying to figure out the best way to promote their podcast, and turn it into, more than what it is today. So everybody's always working
Yeah.
on that. Are you relying on additional or different social media to promote the YouTube channel and to get people to the YouTube channel, or are you running ads? How are you going about getting new eyeballs on the channel so that the channel itself can work its magic?
Yeah, all of the above. So social media has been a huge part of our work from the very beginning. So that Kickstarter campaign, we didn't have an email list at that point. We had a Facebook group. And so when we first launched that Facebook group, I think we had a couple of thousand followers. And so social media has been a huge part. So primarily Facebook and Instagram. Obviously, YouTube itself is a social media, and you can post on that as well. And we've dabbled on Twitter, and I've never opened the TikTok app. It's just a part of me that just can't. Um, and so we're always looking at. In fact, actually, I don't know if you remember. Do you remember Google Plus?
Oh yeah.
Google Plus, man, that was around the first couple years, and we
Yeah.
posted a few times, and three people engaged with those posts. But we try different things, and try to stay current. So we've got a variety of audiences. Obviously, our YouTube audience has now become the largest one. Those are the ones that we speak directly to. But over the years, email campaigns has been a huge thing for us as well. We've generated quite a bit of an audience that way. And so, yeah, it's all polling them again. It's going to where we know people are already gathering and
Hmm.
communicating stuff so that if all they want to do is go on Facebook and find that content, use that content and benefit from it, great. They don't have to go anywhere else. But if they're Googling it, we want our website to pop up. If they're on YouTube and they're looking for it, we want that to pop up. We're on Vimeo. That was actually our first hosting platform,
Wow.
and our content still goes up on Vimeo. And they'll find it as shorts on Instagram and as posts. And so, yeah, polling from a variety of places. Our audience is a wide variety of ages. Um, our core audience, as far as those who consume it, are probably between the ages of 20 and 40, 20 and 45. But our core audience of those who support it, who actually financially support the work, are everyone older than that, primarily. And so it's an interesting series of efforts that we put in to attract the right kind of people.
I love it. I love what you're doing, and I love your approach to all of it. I always ask a corny question on this particular podcast, and so we're going to hit you with that question right now. When it comes to doing your podcast, your show, what is it about doing that you love the most, and what is it about doing that you just really can't stand, dislike the most?
Hmm. The thing I love the most is I love being able to create content and releasing it quickly to a huge audience. So I went to film school. I graduated in 2007. The idea of creating video and reaching a worldwide audience was, we didn't discuss that. So to give you an idea of how old I am, YouTube was created, it was launched in 2005. So when I started film school, YouTube was just created. The idea of posting video online and reaching it worldwide, we were not discussing that. We were certainly not shooting videos on our phones and posting them as soon as we recorded them. We were still using beta tape and converting those to, anyway. And so what I love now is that anybody can create something, make it look good, sound good, and release it to a worldwide audience, and that can be readily available. The thing I dislike about the job, honestly, is the social media aspect of it because it's ever changing. And so what worked 2 years ago on our YouTube channel, and we were seeing incredible growth, is no longer working this year, and we're trying to figure out why that is. And you do a lot of introspection. You're like, have we changed? Is the content just not as good anymore? Is it that AI is filling? Yes. Is it that social media people just, are getting tired of, the OG platforms like Facebook? Yes. But what is it? And having to keep up with that is probably my least favorite thing.
Interesting, interesting. Yeah, it's funny when you need it, the social media. It's like you can't live with it, you can't live without it, right?
Yeah.
100%. No, I love that. Um, how are you guys deciding what your next project is? Do you have like a laid out plan of we're going to do X, then we're going to hit another book, then we're going to hit another book, or is it random, or is it, hey, where can we travel right now?
There's a
Logistically.
dartboard on the,
Yeah, how do you come up with the plan for, I mean, because hey, you're doing the Bible. And I mean, brother, that's here's your content,
it's a lot to choose from.
right?
Yeah.
You've got a lot. How do you make the
Yeah.
decision about what's next?
So at the very beginning, we launched this thing and we thought to ourselves, no one's done this before. There's probably a reason for that. We just haven't figured out yet. And this may be the only shot that we have at it. So let's do the story of Jesus. Like if we get one shot, let's do the story of Jesus.
Right.
And we were thankful to be able to take 2 trips, 2 campaigns, and do the whole story of Jesus, 10 episodes. Um, but it really was. We finished that and had conversations going, okay, where do you go from that? That's kind of the greatest story ever told. Where do you go from
Right.
Jesus? And that was the approach for the first several projects was we finished this, what's next? And we would usually listen to our audience and go, people are asking us for these things. So you can imagine the story of the Acts, we've been asked for that from the beginning. You do the story of Gospels and people assume you're going to launch right into Acts. And it has taken us 10 years to actually be able to pull something like that off. Like just look at a map and see how far Paul traveled. And it's mind blowing. We have, I am glad to say, in the last 18 months or so, and we just publicly announced this 3 or 4 months ago, we have crafted our 10-year vision. We have crafted a plan that will allow us to create videos and written curriculum for the entirety of the Bible using what we've already created. So some of those spots have been filled, but now we're filling in the rest of those gaps, starting with the Book of Acts and the epistles. We're kind of doing those both at the same time. But then it just, okay, what are the spots remaining to be filled? This is the map that we've laid out. And we believe that at our current pace and with our current capacity, that we could accomplish a full curriculum from Genesis to Revelation in the next decade.
Wow. I mean, that's quite the goal, brother.
Yes, it is. I'm not going to lie to you. It's massive.
Wow.
And it is going to involve additional funding. It's going to involve, more creative hands. Um, but we've been incredibly thrilled to see the response. Like I said, we just launched that 2 or 3 months ago. Um, but to let people know, like we have a vision and we know what's next, and we know how we're going to tackle this, and with a lot of prayer and planning and funding is going to be involved, that we can get this thing done, we believe.
Well, I love your vision and your mission and the direction that you guys are going. I mean, when I asked you that question, I didn't expect to hear about a 10-year plan, so that's amazing. And congratulations. I'm looking forward to seeing that unfold with what you're doing. There is something I want to make sure I ask you about today. And you and I had the opportunity to talk about it, but you have a whole different viewership on each podcast that I do. So I want to make sure that we get this out there. But you have a little bit of a focus when it comes to homeschooling and the experience that people go through with homeschooling. Do you want to maybe just talk about that real quick and
Sure.
what you do in that area?
Yeah. So I grew up in a homeschool family, myself and my six other siblings, and my parents are just superhuman. My mother was incredible to teach us that, and had a great experience with that. My wife and I homeschool our three children as well, and we're thankful for that opportunity. When we first started Appian Media, homeschoolers weren't necessarily front of mind, but you better believe once you start announcing free Bible videos, homeschool families find you very quickly.
There
It's
you
all
go.
of our favorite things. And so, very early on, people were like, "So, can you come to this homeschool convention? Can you come and do workshops for us? Can you? I've got a child who's interested in filmmaking, and I don't want to send them to a secular film school." And I say, "Good for you. You shouldn't. I'd be happy to come and do a workshop for you." And so, that's really, man, probably within 2 years of us starting. So for the last 7 or 8 years, very heavily involved in the homeschool community. And it's something that I'm very passionate about, is trying to create opportunities and give resources for those who are interested in the creative arts, storytelling and filmmaking and photography and writing. Usually in the homeschool communities, we don't have a lot of opportunities for that, or parents just don't even know where to start looking. And so not only am I thrilled to be able to provide the content that Appian Media provides, high quality, reliable, biblically accurate, freely available Bible videos, and workbooks that they can incorporate in their curriculum. But I'm very much interested in helping to encourage and inspire, if I can, the next generation. Homeschool families aren't the only ones, but a lot of them are very discouraged by what Hollywood is putting out. They're very discouraged by the lack of content that they can consume as families together in their entertainment choices. And it's one thing to sit back and curse the darkness, and it's another thing entirely to get involved in bringing light. And so I'm trying to inspire these families to say, look, you've got a kid over here who's very excited about their camera that they just bought. What do you do with that? How do you equip them? How do you inspire them? How do you lead them in that kind of direction so that they can be potentially another person bringing light?
I love that. I'm gonna steal that from you. I hope you don't mind, because
Absolutely.
that's amazing. I really do. That's great what you're doing for the homeschool families, man. It really is. I want to make sure we pointed that out to you. I do have one more question for you as we start bringing this to a close, and I appreciate your time today, of course, man. But before we get there, give everybody your info. Give them all the nitty gritty. How can they reach you? What are your links? I'll of course have some things in the show notes for everybody, but tell them right now best ways to reach Appian Media.
Sure. So probably just finding us on YouTube. So Appian Media. It's based on the Appian Way, that Roman roadway. So you can look that up. But you can find us at appianmedia.org. That contact form at the bottom of that website, you can fill that out with any questions or comments that'll come to me and other members of our team. So I'm always very interested to hear from people, sharing ideas or asking questions. You can find Appian on, Facebook and Instagram and all of those things. But then you can also, if you want to reach out to me directly, you can find me on those social links as well. It's an odd thing, but I am the only Craig Dehut on the internet. So if you Google that and you see my name, it's me, for better or worse. There I am. And so you're welcome to reach out to me, and I'd love to hear from you and answer any questions I could.
That's wonderful. I appreciate that. And of course, we'll make sure that's in the show notes for everybody to go find. As we kind of wrap this up here, I usually end with this question, and especially with everything you've built, I'm eager to hear this. So, when it comes to doing your show, what's the best piece of advice that you can give to other podcasters, folks who are trying to build their own shows, folks who would love to, be where you are today, and of course, beyond. I know you're trying to get, to the next step every day as well. But what's your best piece of advice to folks who are out there doing what we're all doing, who are not quite where you are yet?
Hmm. That's interesting because I don't necessarily view myself as being there. I view myself like I'd like to, I think we're all in that stage. I think the best piece of advice that I can give is just create. Don't wait until it's perfect. Don't wait until it's as good as the people that you love and watching and consuming their content, because then you'll never do it. You've got to get out and create, and it won't be great, and you'll learn, and then you'll reiterate, and then you'll do it again. There's a reason why. I've been making videos since I was in high school. There's a reason why you won't find any of that on the internet. But I had to make those terrible, terrible things in order to learn and do better and grow. And so just create and be open. I think that's probably my next piece of advice, if I can give you two. Be open to constructive criticism,
Hmm.
even if it's given perhaps in a heart that isn't in your best interest. Listen to it. Someone listened to your podcast or watched your video and there was something they didn't like about it. Don't get defensive. You've got to grow thick skin if you're going to be a creator, and listen and go, okay, hey, why didn't they like that? Is there something I could have changed or done better? Um, and and try again and work at it. We are all in this, series of creative growth, and don't get discouraged. Keep at it, and yeah, that's my piece of advice: is just get out there and create and see what God can do with you.
I love it. That's fantastic advice, and all those points. And it's a great way to kind of wrap us up. So I appreciate you, brother. Folks, co-founder of Appian Media, Craig Dehut. Craig, thank you so much for coming on here and just sharing everything that you've shared today, all the behind the scenes stuff, and everything you've been through to build what you're building. We're all going to be, following you and cheering you along, man. All my best for the future. Sounds like you're on a great track.
Well, thank you, and thanks again for another great conversation.
Absolutely, brother. Folks, that's another fantastic episode of the Podcaster Nation. The reason why we have these fantastic podcasters come on here is because this is the podcast. It's about podcasters, it's for podcasters, and it's done by podcasters. Like I said earlier, folks, this is the place where the rising tide truly raises all ships. So keep sailing.